What is the penalty for stunt driving in Ontario? The penalties for stunt driving or racing are quite severe. The penalties for stunt driving or racing are found in Section 172 of the Highway Traffic Act of Ontario, and you can click to read the penalties at ontario.ca or on our website. Now, here's a summary of the penalties. Fines. The minimum fine is $2,000. The maximum fine is $10,000. Demerit Points 6, jail up to 6 months, and probation up to 2 years, and license suspension also up to 2 years. Your insurance rates will also dramatically increase when you're convicted of stunt driving or racing, because your insurance company will place you in a high-risk category. And the impact of being high risk will dramatically increase your insurance rates. Now, question is, can you go to jail for speeding? For a regular speeding ticket under Section 128 of the Highway Traffic Act? The answer is no. You cannot go to jail for simply speeding. However, if your speed is higher than 50 kilometers per hour above the speed limit, you are no longer speeding, you are now stunt driving or racing your vehicle. And in this case, yes, it is possible to go to jail. Why are the penalties for stunt driving and racing so harsh? It's a good question. The penalties are severe because stunt driving or racing in Ontario is considered a public safety offense. And here's what that means. Think of it as a typical car weighs about 4,000 pounds or 1,800 kilograms. Now, that's a lot of weight to be moving on a set of wheels. So don't think of it as a car. Think of your vehicle as a weapon. If you think of a weapon as a 4,000 pound weapon on wheels that can kill a person and put someone in a wheelchair, that weapon can cause property damage. In the context of driving a 4,000 pound weapon, the Ontario lawmakers made a public policy decision. They simply do not want people driving a vehicle at fast speeds. And doing so poses a real danger to society. Remember, keep thinking of it as a 4,000 pound weapon. Now, because stunt driving is considered a danger to the public, the lawmakers treat this charge differently and more harshly than a typical traffic ticket. Stunt driving or racing is classified in a different section of the Highway Traffic Act, and this section is known as a Part 3 offense. They are much more serious than regular traffic offenses. The severe penalties are given because the lawmakers only want people to drive that follow the rules of the Highway Traffic Act. And creating harsher punishments sends a message to the public that society will not accept or tolerate dangerous driving behavior. Yes, the province will charge you with incredibly severe penalties. Yes, the lawmakers know that this is harsh, and yes, the lawmakers know that you might not be able to absorb these penalties. And if you are convicted with these penalties, then you lose your ability to feed yourself or feed your family. And yes, lawmakers know that. But that is a price you will pay when you pose a risk to the public. So why are the penalties listed as a range and not fixed? For example, there is potential license suspension up to 2 years or fines up to $10,000. Well, the penalties for stunt driving or racing in Ontario are purposely defined by the lawmakers as a range. In other words, the penalties are not fixed. And this is very different than the penalties for a simple speeding ticket under Section 128 of the Highway Traffic Act. With simple speeding, the fines and demerit points and penalties are fixed. There's no discretion with what your penalty is going to be. The fine is set. However, if you are charged with stunt driving or racing, the penalties that you are subject to have a very wide range. And these penalties are not fixed because of the severity of the stunt driving or the racing charge itself. The more severe your case is, the more severe the penalty will be. So who decides what the penalty will be? The answer is the Justice of Peace is the final decision maker on what your penalty will be. However, the prosecutor, who is the person working for the Ontario government that is in charge of prosecuting the case against you, does actually have a say in what that penalty will be. But ultimately, it is the Justice of the Peace who will decide. So what factors go into the decision about what the penalty will be? And that's a very important question. There are many factors that go into the decision-making process about what your stunt driving or racing charge penalty will be. Some of these factors include how fast was the speed that you were going when you were caught. Generally, the higher the speed, the more severe the potential penalty. Another is whether you have had previous convictions of stunt driving or racing charges. And generally, what your driving record, your driving abstract looks like. If there was an accident, if anyone was hurt or killed, these factor in as well. Where the incident happened and what time of day. So for example, speeding during the week near a school will generally be treated more harshly. or if the offense happened in a residential area. How was your interaction with the police officer? Confrontational actions will also factor into the penalty. Is stunt driving or racing a criminal charge? Question we get asked all the time, and the answer is no. Stunt driving or racing is not a criminal charge. It is an offense under Part 3 of the Highway Traffic Act of Ontario. A conviction of stunt driving or racing under the Highway Traffic Act, while serious, will not result in a criminal record or a criminal charge. While jail is a potential penalty for stunt driving or racing, it is not a criminal charge, and this is important to remember. The Criminal Code of Canada does have charges that are focused on driving, such as dangerous driving. So if the stunt driving or racing event is so severe, the police may decide to pursue charges against you under the Criminal Code of Canada.